Hello, and welcome again to this week's Girl Chat with Miss Evelyn Inc. As you may or may not know, we have been doing these for a month, 2 months, 3 months. It's been since like
It's been some months.
it's been some months since we started this weekly girl chat. We've been alternating on Evelyn's channel and on my channel, and we just talk about everything, all the things: life, love, career, intentional living, a bunch of things. And you guys have seemed to really enjoy it, and we're just having a good time. It's just us bringing you into our phone conversations because we be going in, y'all. So we're just bringing that community and that realness and that love, you know, to YouTube. So shout out to you guys who have been a part of it. And if you're here, let us know that you're here. I see a few of you guys coming in. But first and foremost, if you do not know, I will introduce you right now to Miss Evelyn. She is a entrepreneur, she's a chef, she's a YouTuber, she's a speaker, she's a business strategist. She is a lot more things that I'm forgetting right now, but she could do just about anything, okay? And if you're not subscribed to her channel, then you should see her links in the description. So go ahead, drop your like a comment there so they can subscribe to your channel. So welcome again, Evelyn. It's good to have you as always. We missed last week, so sorry about that, y'all. But we're back in full effect this week with a really interesting topic, and so we're so glad to bring you guys in on this one. Anything you want to say, Evelyn?
No. I mean, I'm just excited to be here. This has been so much fun. I don't know if they can hear me because they can't see me.
They can't see you. What you mean?
It's just you. It's just you, friend.
Oh, are we good now?
Let me look. Let me look. It's a little bit of a delay. But yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited about today's topic because this is something that I think, you and I have talked about behind the scenes, and I feel like I'm kind of working through right now. Like, typically, we like to bring y'all stuff that we've kind of worked through previously, but I would say this is something at least for me, I'm in the middle of. There we go. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
Uh, that I'm in the middle of right now. So, but definitely want to share kind of like our thoughts and insights in case other people find themselves in the similar mindset and don't even know that that's what they're doing. So,
Awesome, awesome. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I forgot to add you to the. Anyway, so yeah, y'all. When we were discussing what to talk about today, Evelyn brought up this idea, and it really resonated with me on several levels right now. So, welcome is the Angel Eyes. Welcome,
thanks.
Angel Eyes. Thanks for coming in. On several levels. So, and we have talked about this in the past briefly on other lives, but we just want to open it up a little bit more because as women, I think one of our gifts is that we are very resourceful.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And I even, when I'm trying to not be funny, but when I'm trying to pat my own self on the back, I'll even tell my husband, I'll tell him, like, listen, a good woman can make something out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll be like, oh, we don't have any juice, or oh, we don't have this, or oh, I'm like, give me 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Because a good woman can make something out of nothing. And so a lot of us have that skill set, that ability to do it, but it doesn't mean that we should in every area of our life. For instance, build a bear when it comes to a man, right? Trying to make something out of nothing. Everybody's a child of God. I'm not calling anybody nothing, but not everybody's for you. And not everybody is where you are in life or wants to go where you want to go in your life. And so, in that situation, that arena, dating arena, we don't want to make something out of nothing, and so that's just an example of one area. Anyway, go ahead, Evelyn. Take
Yeah,
it.
I mean, you know me. I love to come with the analogies, or the stories, and I think about it like this. And we've talked about this privately, where there was a season in my life, and I want to give like the most simplest example as we get into because I do believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I used to have the tendency, let's say when I went clothes shopping, to go into a store and go straight to the clearance rack. And listen, this is not about not loving a good deal. This is not about not catching a good sale, but it was my default setting that I would go to the clearance rack and look at the clothes that apparently didn't sell, apparently other people couldn't make or whatever, and be like, it's ugly on the hanger, but if I get it altered, put a belt on it, put a necklace on it, do my face, wear a wig, turn around in 3 circles, you know what I'm saying, and wave a magic wand, I probably can make it work, right? And while that sounds cute and fun, and it, like you said, it's almost like, girl, I can make it work, right? You know, I believe that I think that's a good skill to have, but not a good place to live in. And knowing when it's like, I need to have that in my toolbox, but I don't need to be using that as a default, right? And so, ironically, my journey kind of started with that, like asking myself, like, well, why are you skipping over? Like, here's the thing: if you find something that you like on the clearance rack, Evelyn, that's fine. Like, it's not that that's off limits, but it's like, but why is that your first to go to the things that didn't sell, people picked over? Like, why was that your go to, right? And so, what I started noticing is that there were other areas in my life where I was making it work. Yeah, that lipstick is $4.99 at the drugstore, but if I put 3 different lip pencils on and mix it with 2 different glosses, girl, I can make it work. Right? Okay. I mean, and so then that starts to slide into business, relationships, friendships, ways of thinking, right? Uh, Interacting with other humans, right? Yeah, they talk to me crazy, and yeah, they da 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 da. But you know, if I just contort myself in this box, I and so I think there's a difference, and we talked about this just like for a brief second, y'all, before we got started, that there's a difference between making things work and making things do what they're supposed to do. That 2 different things, right? And I think we have confused the two. That making it work instead of doing what it's supposed to do, 2 completely different things. So that's my intro thought. You know, it's a little long, girl. So I would love to know what the ladies are thinking. Re- hey,
Hey, Ray. We got G Angel here. Welcome, guys. And if you guys have any comments or any questions, as always, on topic or off topic, go ahead and drop them in there. You know, I have no problem veering from, you know, the main situation, but, you know, we definitely going to talk this out and want your input here if you like. But if you have any other questions, then feel free to do that. But no, that resonates with me. I think my making it work season was definitely like college, you know, at around that time, because you are on a tight budget, you know, you are on a tight schedule because you are focusing on, you know, your studies and everything like that. And so you don't have the funds to spend on the most expensive outfit or the most luxurious linens or the best restaurants. And so you make it work. You go to Applebee's and make Apple. Now listen, if y'all like Applebee's, I'm not trying to. Anyway, no shade. Make it work, you know. And the clearance rack was like my best friend. Even though, to be honest, side note, I do not care for the clearance rack experience. And I actually do not like. I actually find it very overwhelming, to be honest with you. Like the fact, like sitting there and going through the racks, for me, I find really overwhelming. And I had to come to understand that and know that about myself, that it's like, why am I forcing myself to go through this? Why am I trying to make this fit for me if it's not fit for me? You know what I mean? So I realized, like, big department store, girl, we gonna get there in a minute. You know, I realized that big department stores and stuff like that, I can't. I can't. I'm more like, like even places like Walmart, no shade to anybody, or even like Target, still no shade to, and where they sell like multiple things is too much. Grocery store, that's what I need. If I'm gonna go get groceries, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. Like, I just have always been like that. But in that era, it was about making things work. You know, when it comes to the food the types of food that I'm ingesting, the quality of food that I'm ingesting, when it comes to the type of clothes that I'm putting on my body, or even the makeup that I was, you know, using at that time and all of that, I was making it work. And let me tell you something, I was good at it. But there's nothing wrong for with being resourceful. Like she was saying, it's a good skill set to have, but it's not a way that you should live,
Mm.
right? And I do agree that a lot of the mindset gets spilled into other areas of life. You know, I'm going to make this career work. It's not what I would have chosen for myself, but I'm going to make it work. Like, this is not the man or the type of relationship that I've wanted to have, but I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work with, you know, what I got, and so that's problematic, and that's problematic, and ultimately it will, you'll regret it. I'll just say plain and simple. You will regret it. You will have resentment, whether it's towards other people or with yourself, just or regret with yourself because I didn't live the life that I wanted to. I didn't live to my greatest potential. I didn't live to um, the ends of my financial capacity. I didn't push the boundaries because I was out here trying to make it work, squeeze a deal, um, save. You know, I don't want to say save money per se because you know saving money is important, but there are some areas where your priorities might be a little shifted in that area, and that's okay. You know what I mean? And so understanding myself a little bit more and working, flowing with who I am and what I want instead of trying to squeeze into an area that wasn't like made for me or fit for me. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Let me ask you this: do you think, and this is just a theory, so I don't know if I think this, but this just came to me. Do you think that part of the reason why we, I won't speak for any other women, but we, or we as women sometimes make things work is because it seems like the easier option versus the effort required to do or be or have what we really want? I know it's loaded. I know it's loaded.
Listen, I can speak for myself. And what I can say is that it's not the effort
Mhm.
that was the biggest problem for me. To me, it was that can't attitude,
The belief.
the belief that it's beyond me or bigger than me. And so, and I'll just use like simple examples where there were things that I wanted or I knew, but I thought that I couldn't afford. But I've never actually looked into them because, and I never actually knew what they cost. I just assumed that it was bigger than me. What's up, Butte Creole? Thanks for coming in, G Angel. Welcome. I thought that it was bigger than me, and so for me, it was just the belief, and not believing that I could, the believing that I could afford, or believe that I could go there, or believe that I could have that type of job or that type of position. It was the
Or that
belief,
for that type of woman.
or that I was that type of woman, really. And I think kind of switching that can't attitude about me and into the can, like I can do all of these things, I do have access to all these things, this is who I in fact am. And once that became a thing and I pushed through the can't, I'm actually looking at, I'm like, oh, that, I can go travel to that country. That's not even, I can afford that. You know what I'm saying? Or, oh, I can drive that car, or I can whatever. Not to just make it materialistic, but yes, once I switched into that sort of can
Mhm.
mentality, that's where like the barrier broke for me. So I think that was my biggest
Mhm.
hang up. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I switched from, I think mine would had an intermediate step, which it went from can't to how can I?
Mm.
So when I found myself in situations where I was like, okay, I think I can't afford that, it's like, well, how could I? Or how could I get access to that? So I had like an intermediate step there, right? And then I got to I can, and so and now there's this mindset of nothing's out of reach I may have to be creative sometimes, but it's like, and like you said, it's not just materialistic, but it's kind of like, when I'm, let's take it out of materialistic and let's take it into career, right? Like I remember working for a company and people were like, they were miserable at their job and they hated their job. And I always had this mentality, like if it's that bad, like either change what's bad about it or like go get another job. Like it was just that simple to me. And not really understand like it's this belief. I had this belief that you always have a choice, you always have an option, you can do whatever it is that you want to do if you're willing to pay what it costs, invest at that level, do the work, put forth the energy, stop playing, whatever it took. Like I went from how can I, and then like, oh, okay, it's achievable if I'm willing to act. And sometimes the willing to wasn't even something crazy. I just had to have the belief that I could in fact be, have, do, go wherever. And so I think that's kind of the journey I went on. I had that intermediate step about how can I, and just reframing my mindset about things, that the world really is my oyster.
Hmm.
Um, and really believing that. And I think I saw a quote from somebody I can't remember years ago that was like, "You belong everywhere.
Yes.
You belong everywhere." And then me, because I'm deep, I'm ocean floor deep unnecessarily sometimes. It was about like asking myself like, well, why did I think that I couldn't or couldn't have or couldn't do or couldn't be or couldn't get, like why did I think that, and where did I get that from, and how did I get that way? Um, to really make it more so like of a, now it's like so natural to me, like when things, it's not even a can, it's just like, oh, okay, let me see how I can fill in the blank, really. um so yeah, that was kind of my journey. I think I had that middle step of having to change my mindset like in two pieces. And so it's always interesting when I encounter people who have not gotten to that mindset, I shall say, that sometimes it's very disheartening to observe, because it's like, sis, you always have a choice,
Yeah.
when I think about everything that's going on right now, and I don't want, I don't want to use that example because I'm not a parent, but just with people with job choice or school choice or with things that are going on right now, and I just hear this, well, I can't and I have to and I can and we can and we, and it's like, but you probably could if you asked yourself a different question. And I remember somebody saying, you ask different questions, you get different answers.
Hmm.
When you raise, the level of questions, you get a higher level, a higher quality answer, right? So, but simply just by changing the question, I had a new experience. I mean, I feel like I done already went too deep, but girl, this I mean, this is what we do.
No, it's so true. That a lot of it is mental, right? And you said this about other things. You said this about I think ready. I think you said that ready is a mythical place, but I think stuck is also a mythical place. You're not stuck. Stuck is not real life. It's feeling, right?
Yep.
It's feeling. It's perception, and so you're only stuck if you want to be. Essentially, I know that's harsh. That's not the nice thing to say, but it's true. It's true. You're stuck because you want to be. Angel Eye says, yes, I agree, or we are put in compromising positions. Miss Model says, hey, much love from North Carolina. What's up? What's up? Angel Eyes also as assuming is a killer, speaking to when I was speaking earlier that I assumed that I couldn't afford, and I assumed I couldn't travel, and I assumed all these things. So yes, but yes, being stuck is a mythical place. It's a feeling, and it's not necessarily real. We do always have an option. We are not stuck. And Caribbean Girl says, "Oh dear, I have missed. Have I missed much? No, 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 no. Usually I'm early. Welcome, welcome." Angel Eye says, "Go deep." Yes, we mentally hold ourselves back. Welcome, Caribbean Curls. No, it's not too late. We are still here. So go ahead if you guys have any questions on topic or off topic. Go ahead and ask them. But I had to learn that. And I do, to be honest, still to this day, Evelyn, real talk, I still get into this stuck place, this feeling of it. And I quickly realized that, I do have an option here. It may not be what I originally intended.
Now, Speak on that.
Okay, it may not be. And here's the thing. See, now we get into personal, so I might get a little emotional. But here's the thing. For planners, obsessive planners, this hurts us more. While other people might be like, okay, so it didn't go your way. It's not just about things not going your way. It's more.
It's
Things
control.
not going the way you planned. It's control. It really is the way you planned, because most planners they'll tell you it's not about it not being plan A. It's like it's not even plan B. It's not even plan C, because a lot of times we planned all the way in that. It's not even part of what I possibly could plan for that could have happened. It's not even happening here. And that feeling of being out of our grasp, because
Mm-hmm.
in our mind, in my mind, I'm gonna speak for myself. In my mind, these were the options right here, the ones I planned for, right? And so it may not be what you originally intended, but I can testify that it always turns out to be the the best thing, the
The best.
very
The
best thing. And it's been that thing that time and time and time again has opened the door to something bigger and to something better. And so I think the flip side of this whole making it work thing, um, I guess, can be sort of making it fit, right? And fit in our plan, fit in our mind, fit in, because the Bible talks about heaven being greater than we can ever even imagine. Anything that we can see, the biggest thing that you could see for yourself in lifetime to have, it's greater than that, right? And that His plans are greater than our plans. If you think TV or singer or millionaire or Lord, His plans are greater for us. His thoughts are greater than our thoughts. Can you imagine the plans that God has for us? And so, but we're trying to make Him fit in our little plan, in our little planner, in our little situation, and our little list. You know what I'm saying? So I've struggled, especially with the latter of late, of letting that go and saying, you know what, I'm gonna let you handle this. You know what I mean? We're supposed to make our requests made known, and so He knows the desires of our hearts. And so when things go out of plan, listen, without a vision, people perish. Have a plan.
Have a plan.
Have a plan. But you know what? Be ready to let God do what He wants to do ultimately.
Let me tell you. Let me give you. Let me take that. Let me take that and put it into a. I got stories. I always got a story, right? I remember, and this is not about work, but this illustrates, because I think what you're saying is like the destination may be the same.
Yes.
The way you get there may change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sometimes even the destination may change because there's a better destination. But I remember I had a boss, and I remember going to him and saying, hey, okay, what are the goals for my department? Like, what do you want me to do? Right. And instead he started telling me how he wanted me to do it. And I remember saying to him, like, listen, you got two options. You can tell me the goals, and because I'm an expert in this area and you're not an expert in this area, I will do what I need to do based on what I know that you don't know. Ooh, I'm preaching to myself here.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't see, because I can see all the details that you can't see, and I can get you to the goal, but it's not going to look like what you want to look like. But if you want to control what I do, then you're going to get whatever result you want to get,
Mm-hmm.
right? All I said something right there. If you control the path, the timing, the purpose, or whatever, then you'll get what you want to get, because you can't see everything, right? Oh Lord, I feel like I'm okay. Let me come.
Yes.
Let me calm down. And so this thing about making it work, I think, like you said, I think it's twofold. It's like making it work, and it's like making it fit all of our parameters, timeline, budget, whatever, and opening ourselves up to letting go of the outcome. Make your request known, believe that you have received it, write the vision, make it plain, and let go of the out and let and keep it moving, right? And it's interesting because I'm kind of jumping back and forth here. There's so many thoughts. I didn't know that I was gonna be this hype when we was talking about the day. so happy to have so many thoughts. So okay, let me conclude that thought, which is there is an element of trust there. And as a planner, right, you want it to look like, walk like, talk like, breathe like what you envisioned in your head with your limited knowledge, right? Let me speak for you with my limited knowledge. Okay. And I feel like God be like, girl, you can't even breathe on your own. Like which like you don't even make your heart beat. You think you about to anyway. I'm so so that's that thought. But then so Gina DeVee, and I know that you're reading The Audacity to Be Queen on your channel. She tells this story a lot in her work, and I think it might even be in her book, to the point about making it work, that she was like a struggling psychotherapist. She was making $24,000 a year, right? So $2,000 a month. And she was reading all these money books about, like, give up your latte money, cook at home, save money, live beneath your means. And so she was like, for years, she was trying to do that until she finally was like, I don't want to figure out how to live on $2,000 a month. Right. Because she was making it work. Right. And so she finally was like, yeah, I don't want to make that work. Right. I want something else. And it wasn't until she had that moment, that belief, like, yeah, this is not what I really want, trying to make that work. Now, when you get to what you want and you need to keep it working, that's a different thing. When you get married, when you have children, okay, when you say I'm gonna lock down and this is gonna be my career, whatever the case may be, then you need to do what you need to do to make it do what it's supposed to. But I just remember that story and hearing that, and it was like, that is the definition of making it work when it probably wasn't meant to work that way. So yeah, I mean you done said a word, I done halfway preached to myself. I done got hyped too soon.
Listen, this live is for me. If it's not for one other person, this live is for me.
Yeah.
Tiofi Ukata says, so true. The strongest grip is the mental one. Man, if we could just get past that. If we could just get past that. Caribbean Curls put a question here. I think it's hearing.
Put it up on the screen because I saw it.
It says, do you think you shouldn't put a price on your happiness?
I have a lot to say on that. So would you like to go
Go
first?
ahead, girl. Go ahead, girl. You got it.
So do you think you should put a price on your happiness? Okay. Like, Caribbean Girls, we love you, right? And so there's so many things in such simple questions. So I'm going to work the question backwards, okay? And the first thing I'm going to address is happiness. And I will tell you that I don't care what a movie says, The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't care what famous quotes say about happiness. If you pursue happiness, it is a moving target. This is not to say that you cannot have happy moments in your life. I prefer joy. I prefer joy and I prefer peace. I will take happy, but happy is like a roller coaster, right? And without being shady and without turning this into a celebrity gossip live stream, we can see the dangers of what happened when people pursue happiness because they just want to be happy. And so so the question in itself, to me, if I were to reword it for you, would be, do you think we shouldn't put a price on joy or peace or contentment, right? Happiness is a feeling. And one of the phrases I used to say all the time is, feelings are real, but they're not facts. And if you don't punk them into submission, they will run you ragged. One day you happy, one day you're sad, one day you're this, one day that. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster. Shout out to Vivian Green, okay? And so if you are making life decisions off of a feeling, you're gonna be doing this, okay? So that's my first part of my response to your question. Let me move backward to price. Here's the thing. do I think money, because it's almost like, to me, this is a different way to phrase, do I believe money can buy happiness? I think that money or putting a price on things can buy you options. It can give you comfort in certain areas, right? There's even a scripture that says money is the answer to all things, right? So, for example, if you were to lose a loved one, no, money is not going to not make you feel grief, but money can put you on a plane to be with your family while you're going through the grief. Okay. No, money can't make you feel safe and secure, but money can put you in a residence in a neighborhood with low crime rate and give you an alarm system, right? So do you see what I'm saying? So there's so much in this question, just with the two words happiness and price. And then, so if I go back one more, do you think you shouldn't? Here's the thing, these shoulds and shouldn'ts will also sink, because who said the should?
Mm.
Who said the shouldn't? Where is that coming from? Right? So I will say this, having an abundance of money is, and let me go back. Money is a tool. That means it has a function. Use it to do what you need it to do. It will do things, right? Do I feel happy when I put on my cute little lipstick? Sure, but it's fleeting, because when I'm done putting it on, whatever. But do I have joy in my life, which is a dwelling place, a state of being, a mindset? Yes, the lipstick didn't give me that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got, Patricia. I'm gonna stop there. I said a lot. I know that's not what you was asking for. My answer. So Patricia.
Look, I agree with you. I have never been a fan of the word happy, um, because it is a feeling, and just to call it out how it is. Um, I don't know if you guys saw the segment, the Facebook series, Red Table Talk, with Mr. Will Smith and Ms. Jada. And I thought about doing a live on that, but I was just like, by this time it has been quite exhausted, and I just feel like the things I would have to say, I don't know if would be quite popular. But one of the interesting statements that she made is that I was just trying to feel good, and
Several times she said that.
yes, and when you chase feelings, you end up in entanglements, right? And but things like joy and peace are a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's a way of living, right? Because a person who prioritizes peace sets boundaries. A person who prioritizes peace has a good spiritual practice. A person who prioritizes speech is intentional about the friendships that are around them. It's not, it's a state of mind, and it's a way of living, right? And should you put a price tag? I'm just going to take happy out of it. Should you put a price tag on these things? The answer to that is no. No amount of money can someone offer me that's going to make me give up my peace, my joy, my sense of self, my value, and all those things. I won't trade any of those things for anything. But a person who's desperate to be happy will be willing to trade anything. Lisa, well, Miss R 2020 says, love that song by Vivian Green. Lisa Jones says, child, when you chase feelings, you end up in entanglements. Well, yes, ma'am. You end up in bad situations. And so I wouldn't say let's sort of put that chase for happiness aside and seek for greater things. Seek for greater things. SJ says, hey, ladies.
Hey,
Welcome, girl. Thanks for coming in. It's good to see you again. As always, guys, welcome to everybody else. If you guys have any questions or anything like that that you guys like to add, um, go ahead and do so. Whether it's on topic, off topic, of making things work, making things fit, um, let let us know. Feminine success. Hey, Yaya says, while I wouldn't put a price tag on them, I definitely make investments in having and keeping them. Price tag could go either way, I think. I mean, so Evelyn, why don't you share with us what you think? Because you know what I'm thinking is there might be some guilt. Maybe that's where Caribbean Curls was sort of getting at about investing in things that you like versus what you
Mhm.
think you can afford. So,
Yes. So I will kind of combine Caribbean curls and what Yaya said here.
yeah.
So because I know Yaya personally, let me give an example, right? Um, no, I can't buy peace of mind, right? Like because that's a mindset. But let's just say if my life is stressful right now and I don't have time to clean my house and I prioritize peace, I will make the investment to hire a housekeeper, right? That's not buying me peace. That is me creating an environment to maintain the choice that I've made, right? Um, I have made a choice to be healthy in my lifestyle. And for me, part of that includes organic fruits and vegetables. And so it's like, so because I enjoy my body and I enjoy being healthy and I want to cultivate the body that God has given me. I will make investments in certain types of healthcare, certain types of food, certain types of natural supplements to create the environment. It's kind of like I had a pastor talk about one time about like reading your Bible, going to Bible study, going to church. He said those things don't guarantee that you get closer to God, but they set the environment to enhance the chances that you could do that, right? And so I think this was Yaya saying, like, yes, you can't go physically go, this will give me joy, this will give me peace, but I can put systems and structures and things around me to protect that, or to maintain that mindset that I've chosen, right? So I do think sometimes there's this guilt around particular, I don't want to generalize. I think some women, some demographics of women, if I was to put it plainly, sometimes in our culture, I don't want to say it's the majority because I don't know for a fact. Um, we take pride in struggle, right? The struggle is real. Um, B, um, have been taught to make it work and not ask for help, and then wear it like a badge of honor.
Mm.
Um, C, we guilt shame other women for enjoying pleasure. Okay. um I'm not even about to go there on that one, right? So like we guilt and shame women for having ease in their life, particularly if they paid for it, right? So it's like, and so it's like, well, where does that mentality come from? So I don't think there's any guilt and shame. Like, listen, as a single woman, I have paid to have my house clean. Could I have done it myself? Sure. Is that the best use of my time? No. Okay. And I don't feel any guilt about having ease, because here's the thing: life is going to bring things on its own that will try to take my joy and my peace, right? Things that are out of my control. The things that are in my control, I'm absolutely going to be managing them to the highest level. So, um I do think there is this culture of like, oh, I shouldn't buy that. Is that too much? Is that too indulgent? Or whatever. And I will say this: I've had to work through this issue about um my desires. And Gina DeVee talks about this, right? Until I really had to get clear on, but God gave me those desires. And so those desires are good. If I'm in a healthy place spiritually, then 9 times out of 10, my desires are okay. Right. And if I'm staying attached to the vine, right, then my desires are okay. Somewhere we were taught that our desire for ease, for support, for love, for companionship, for nice things was a bad thing. And I think it depends on why you want those things and if that's coming from a healthy place. But Groudon got also off the topic because that just did something to me. What are your thoughts about the guilt and all of that?
So, um, Here's the thing. I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I do. But again, I believe it's a matter of trying to make us fit in someone else's mold,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of taking up our own space.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, outside of money, you know, it's really mindset. If you back in the day, you gave me $200, I would say, and I'm not saying I don't want to name any stores. I don't want to get hurt in my stores, but um, if you give me $200, I will go to X store. I'm like, oh, I'm about to get 30 outfits with this $200. But now I know that I'm not a person that has patience for the clearance rack. There's some people who enjoy that hustle. Evelyn, you and I were talking about, I was talking about my mother who enjoys
It's
the
like a sport.
hustle and the hunt. It's a sport. You know what I'm saying? But that's not my experience.
Right.
It's literally overwhelming. I don't enjoy it. I find it to be a chore. And so now I make the decision to go to a boutique. Now I might be only get one, maybe two outfits with that money, but I enjoy the experience and I have something of quality that'll last me 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or whatever. And I know that about me and I understand that about me right now and I adjust my life to that. And it works better for me to have like 10 or 20 quality things that I can mix and match or whatever rather than having a bunch of things that I don't really love. And so it's sometimes it's not even a matter of more money, but it's just about how we prioritize things based on who we are. So for those of you guys who have a sort of guilt, sometimes you don't have to make that decision. And in the places where you do, that's okay because these same people that are wearing the badge of struggle and of pain and of strife and of life is difficult, these some of these people are also spending money but in other places where you may not spend it. And so while you might get someone to clean your house, they'll buy $500 worth of, $500 worth of Brazilian bundles. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? No tea, no shades. Listen, if you got $500 to spend on, but get it, 22
Right.
inches just for me. But there's another person that might, pay somebody to come in and watch their kids for the night so they can go out on a date night or to come and give their house a nice like deep clean from top to bottom once a month or whatever it is, or might have a luxury spa experience once a
Mm-hmm.
month, or they like luxury makeup or luxury clothes, or they like luxury handbags or shoes or whatever, and that's their thing.
Yes.
And that's okay. You know what I mean? So accept whatever that is about yourself and
And Link.
embrace it.
Yes.
Embrace it. It can be your jam. Cherie says, "Hey," feminine says, "Literally making a smoothie for good health while listening to y'all, full of supplements and superfoods." Yes,
I
I
love.
love that. Lisa Jones says, "I've been loving the posts I've seen around normalizing ease and luxury for Black women. There are posts encouraging women to drop the strong Black women yes label and allow help. I'm here for it." Yes, girl, I love it. Feminine Success says, "Yes, I don't have patience for the clearance rack. Girl, I can't
You
do
cannot.
it." And I have accepted that about myself. Lisa Jones says, "It took time to detach my worth from my ability to toil, struggle, hustle, suffer." She preaching here. "I've watched it deteriorate my mother's mental health. She's retired and doesn't know who she is apart from anything else." Yes, that's it. And that's a place where a lot of I'll say our mothers end up being because they wrap themselves up in what their kids are doing and what they're doing and how they're 30 jobs and all of this and hard and they get to the end of their life and it's just like, what now?
Right.
No,
It's,
I'm going to need to make the investments in myself now so that I still have myself when this is all over, when the kids leave, when they get married, when whatever, it's just me and hubby, or when he passes away, or whatever,
mm-hmm.
that I still have me. What were you going
Mm-hmm.
to say,
Mm-hmm.
Evelyn?
Like, who sold us this idea? Like, and I can't speak for other cultures, and I don't know what's going on there, but who sold us this idea that struggle was strength? Because here's the thing, I think you can be soft and strong. Now, not strong the way we've been selling it, right?
Mhm.
But like, I think me leaning into the support and the systems and the luxuries and the amenities that are available to me and knowing myself is a strength. Knowing what I like and not making it wrong, right? And then here's the thing. Let me tell you, as you was listening off the stuff, I realized I fit into multiple of those categories, okay? And not making myself wrong for, oh yeah, I like luxury beauty and clothes and shoes and food and like, and here's the thing, because once you get honest with yourself about who you really are, right, then it's easier to be authentic. You know, people talk a lot about authenticity and whatever. It's like if you're making it work and that's not really what you want or who you want to be or how you want to function or where you want to shop or what you want to eat or how you want to dress or whatever the case may be, you're being inauthentic because you're trying to make it work. Once you lean into, I like what I like,
Mhm.
I want to be maintained at a certain level. I did a video about why I'm not a low maintenance woman. I, I like to maintain myself at a certain level. I did a video before on defining your own luxury, right? And that is going to vary woman for woman. And so I think two things here is if you don't make it wrong for yourself, you won't make it wrong for the next woman next to you,
Mhm.
right? I like luxury beauty. My mama likes luxury travel.
Mm.
Okay. You know, she's the woman, if she's at a concert or a show, if she ain't in the front row, she don't want to go. If she can't see the sweat on your face, she don't want to go. You know, and has always been like that. She like a certain amount of space in her homes, right? I like certain types of makeup and whatever, right? Different, but because I understand it, I, I don't make her wrong for it, and I don't make me wrong for what I like, right? And I don't even make me wrong. Then it may be multiple things. To your point, then I just adjust my life accordingly. It's like, okay, since I like these things, either A, I'm gonna have to earn more income, or like you said, I may not be able to get 475 dresses for $30. Okay. I may get one shirt for $200, right? And I am okay with that. You know what I'm saying? So um yeah, all of this, you know, and this is why we have to be so important about our words. You know, all of these things about the struggle is real. Well, it don't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, the hustle and grind. Why would I want to do that? Look up the definition of them words. I don't want to hustle and grind. Okay. So who told us it had to be hard? Now, I'm not saying that life doesn't take effort. We talked about this in a previous live stream. Effort and hard ain't the same thing.
Mm.
So anyway.
Yes, yes. Miss K says, I love these talks. Hey BB says, allergic to dust, which keeps me from exploring racks in certain stores. I spend more money on food and trying new recipes. We should share how we make our lives easier due to stress being handed down to us. Ooh, yes. Tiofi Ukada says, I think this also translates across to relationships, romantic and other. Sometimes people hustle in their careers and lifestyle and then make things work for relationships. Yes, girl. And then SJ says, how do you deal with yearning for something you're not ready for in the position for yet? Dream job, getting married, kids. That is a good question. That's a good question. But I want to back up just a bit to stress being handed down. Um, I had this conversation. Should I say this? I had this conversation last night. I'll let y'all in just a little bit. I had this conversation last night with my husband, and we were talking about the dynamics between like parents and their kids, and um, how some children had this I want to please my parent. I had that, but even bigger than that, I had this I want to prove, which is just as unhealthy. As I always want to please, right? And so my whole hang up was I'm gonna do it my way and I'm gonna be successful. I'm gonna do it my way and it's gonna work out even better than what you had laid out for me, type of thing, right? That was my hang up. And in that conversation, I was using the example of something that happened recently in my life where there was this opportunity to work a certain job that would get me more money, but it didn't fit the lifestyle that I want right now. And so my mother's response to me was um, basically that I should go for this, and oh, you don't want a challenge. Is it because you don't want a challenge, or you think you can't do it, or you can't you do, and it doesn't have to be any of those things. What it is it doesn't fit my lifestyle right now or where I see myself going. Even though it makes more money, even though it comes with clout, even all of those things, that's not where I say. And for me to be able to say that, it's because I'm very clear in who I am and where I want to go. And though it worked for her, the stress of that type of position, the hours that that I would have to have worked, the money that it would have brought in, because her priorities are different than mine, and so my priorities are a little bit different. But the lifestyle's got to be there, the work life balance or work life boundaries. It's got to be there, and I see my trajectory going a little bit different, and so money is not always the highest priority for me when it comes to my career. And so, yes, it's very easy to have these things passed down to you and these ideas passed down to you, even in just your culture and your immediate circle. But you got to be able to bust through that
Yep.
and understand who you are and make decisions for yourself that suit you. Because let me tell you guys, this life is so short. You're here today and gone tomorrow. Why be miserable while you're here? Why be struggling while you're here? Like who says that has to be your fate?
Right.
Who says? You know what I mean? And so you got to bust through those thoughts. You got to bust through those ideas and not let people, um, pass down their stress, pass down their hardship down
Mhm.
to you. You have anything to say on that, Evelyn?
Yeah, no, and it's funny because we have to make sure that we don't pick it up unnecessarily, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there was this like what do they call it? Folklore, this tale about a woman who um wanted to make this ham that her family made every year, right? And so she always cut off the butt of the ham and put it in the pan, right? And her husband is like, "Why do you cut off the butt of the ham and cook it that way?" She was like, "Because that's what you're supposed to do." And he'd be like, "But it's wasteful. There's still stuff on there, whatever." She's like, "Nope. This is how my mother did it. This is how my grandmother did it. This is how you're supposed to do it, right?" And so the story goes on is that her mother comes one day, and so the husband asks, like, to his mother-in-law, like, "Hey, why did you cut off the butt of the ham?" And she said, "Oh, I cut it off because my pan wasn't big enough."
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that story has always resonated me on, like, make sure you're not going out of your way to pick up struggle just because you saw it in an area. If you think about it, we grew up very different than our parents grew up,
Mm-hmm.
right? They had different challenges than we had challenges, right? And they had different challenges than their parents have challenges. And if we're not careful, sometimes we will find ourselves doing things that they had to do to adjust it to the environment and the circumstances they were in that don't even apply to us. And then we wake up one day and be like, "Why am I doing that when that don't even apply to me?" You know what I mean? Like, that's not my story. And so if we're not careful, we will think that's just how it has to be. Not, well, they had to do that because that they were in a different circumstance and they were adjusting for the time, right? So it's like, don't be out here cutting the end off your hand when your pan is big enough. It's just because your mama had a shorter pan, right? So listen, I mean, I think the work is, but you have to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I always say you got to have a destination in mind for the next phase of your life, and it's like driving down the highway. Like, the GPS may go, "Oh, there's an obstacle right here, get off, reroute, turn around," but the destination is the same. If you don't know where you're going, you'll get off on any exit that looks good. because you don't know where you're going. And so if things come your way, you're like, oh, you know what? It looks nice over there. Let me go over there. Well, was that where you were trying to go? And so when I hear you talk about that position, it's like, that's an exit ramp you could have got off on, but then that's going to be a huge detour to get
Yeah.
you to where you ultimately want to go. And so people's priorities are different. My mom talks a lot about this. Like, money is a factor in making certain decisions, but it's not the factor.
Yeah.
High or low, more or less. It's a factor, not the deciding factor all the time. So,
Yeah, and in that situation, it really just made me see how far I've come in that I wasn't interested in pleasing or proving in that moment. Because before, I would have seen that as a challenge. Oh, so you think I feel that it's bigger than me, or that I won't be able to, or so you think I'm going to show you that I can.
right.
No, but I was resting in what I want and who I am. And I let that lead the decision instead of letting someone else influence where I was trying to go. But yes, so Teofi talked about relationships. Yeah, so we talked about it earlier in the live, how, a lot of us have this sort of Build-A-Bear syndrome when it comes to men, or even, let's put that aside, not just creating this idea that we can make a man or create a man, but this other idea of making him fit, right? Settling for this man because I can make this work. I mean, I know he smacks me around sometimes, or I know he calls me out of my name sometimes. I know he's a little rough around the edges. I know he's a little lazy right now. He doesn't want to do anything, but I'm gonna make it work. And
And it goes back to not being clear on what you want.
mm-hmm.
You know what you want, and this is not about being a fairy tale princess and having 575 things on your list, right? This is not about that. But it's like, if you know that's not what you want, and that's what he's bringing to you, why would I make it work? If I want a pink dress and you offer me a green dress, no matter what I do, that dress is going to be green. It will never be pink.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I mean,
effort and heart is not the same. Preach, as Camille Branker said.
Can we pause right there, though?
Go ahead.
I want to ask you, and I want to ask the married ladies in the chat, because I'm a single woman. I have not ever been married. But I'm always curious when people are like, marriage is so hard. It's such hard work. I haven't ever been married. So, and you hear that narrative a lot, referencing the red table talk that we talked about earlier, right? They were like, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. Is it both hard and takes effort, or is it majority effort and hard? I have no judgment on this or whatever, because I've never been married, but I want to hear from some of the ladies in the chat, from you, like, why is that the prevailing narrative when people talk about marriages?
I don't like the word hard. And now that I'm just a little over a year in, I still don't like the word hard. I didn't like it 6 months ago. I didn't like it. I've never liked it even before I'm getting married, because I felt like it just made marriage seem very negative and unattainable, and just something that I don't want to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't want to experience. I will say that it takes effort.
Mm-hmm.
It does take effort, and it does take intentionality, and getting to know someone and who was raised differently and who understands differently and communicates differently, and trying to get on the same page. It takes effort, it takes intentionality, and it takes vulnerability, um, and it takes honesty, and it takes really understanding yourself and seeking to understand yourself a lot better, and understanding the other person better. So it does take effort. I'll be lying to you if I said otherwise. I wouldn't describe it as hard. I wouldn't describe it as difficult. But I will say that it's challenging. It challenges you. It challenges everything that you've ever known about yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally a big fat mirror, and one of the big ones, the one that magnifies right in front of your face, and you just see every little crevice. That's what it does, and it's challenging. But if you are open to the process, if you are open to the process, it will take effort, it will take intentionality, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. That's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, because I've just always been curious about that, and I've asked different married people that question because it to me that narrative is that same notion where people think that like making money is hard or that losing weight is hard, and it's like I think things are difficult when you don't know how they function. I will say this: when I first started my business and I didn't understand entrepreneurship, it was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Once I understood entrepreneurship, it took effort, but it no longer was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Still challenging at times, but not difficult. And I wouldn't call it hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people who understand the body and weight loss and health, it takes effort. Is it hard? Like to me, digging a ditch is hard work. You know, building, railroad tracks is hard work. Having three jobs is hard work, right? Um, and so I'm always curious about the mindset behind things. So as a single person, I've just always been like, I always like to ask people the question, like, is it more effort than hard? But I think I like the way you said, like, it is intentional effort. And if I had to guess, that doesn't end.
No.
And I think sometimes when I see certain couples, I'm curious is if they put forth the effort in the right areas, and maybe that's why they're experiencing what they're experiencing. So I just curious. Nope, I have no commentary. Just always been curious about that.
To your point, if you studied for the test and got an A, was it hard?
Right,
Or were you prepared?
right.
Did you have the tools that you needed? Did you have the resources that you needed? And so I can resonate with that when it comes to marriage. And um, the tools would be, you know, being intentional about understanding yourself, vocalizing your desires and being honest with them,
Hmm.
trying to communicate in a way that the other person hears and understands.
Okay.
And sometimes that means speaking a whole different language. Especially just between women and men, we speak very differently. And I'll use this example because this is just something that you come to learn the more you really rest in your femininity. Is that sometimes we speak very differently sometimes,
Hmm.
and a lot of times when men speak, and we've talked about this before, even about the workplace, is that they hear a problem,
Hmm.
and many times when we speak, sometimes we just want to be heard,
Hmm.
and we're not necessarily trying to be fixed. And so sometimes it's like that could create a rift. But coming to understanding that and looking into that and the differences between the way you speak versus the way the other person speaks and all these things um, gives you the tool, a tool that you can use during the process that makes you more prepared, more equipped. That's the word, not prepared, more equipped
Yes.
to be successful. Someone else added in the chat. Camille says, I've been married for 7 years and I think it takes effort, a lot of effort. However, for some, it's hard because their expectations coming into marriage weren't realistic and truthful. Let me tell
Mhm.
you a piece of advice that my dad gave me that I didn't believe at first, but I
Even
believe.
though he's married your whole life. Okay.
Yeah, this is very like over 30 years.
Right.
But I didn't believe it at first. And here's the thing: if you date right, this is applicable to you, right? This is definitely applicable to you. And I did. I'm not to glorify myself or anything, but by the time I got to my husband, let me tell you something. I set my expectation. I let my desires be made known. We talked about what we want in life, where we see ourselves going, all of these things. So we set the stage. I told my non-negotiables, what I absolutely would not tolerate, and so all that was set and that was done right. But once you enter into marriage, this is what my dad told me: drop the expectations. And I was like, I hear what you're saying, But I feel like there's a few things that don't apply to that. He was right. He was right. And Camille, you're right. I mean, you got what, 6 years on me. You're right. Drop the expectations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My pastor talks about that, and he said because unmet expectations turn into demands.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's any area of life. But he was talking to the married people at the time, but he was like, unmet expectations turn into demands. And then what you start doing is you start demanding stuff from people or situations or even God.
Mm.
You start making demands. And then that don't go well with anybody. Make requests.
Yep.
You can make requests. So yeah, I mean, I know that's kind of off the subject, but I just, when we talked about when I kind of touched on that, and she circled back to Camille circled back to effort and hard, like, and I will say this, and this is my last point on this. I heard a pastor say people don't get divorced because they don't love each other anymore. They get divorced because they don't know how to be married. And I thought it was so interesting because he said, if you understand how something is supposed to function and um, for you, like to use your words, the tools that you need to use, the work becomes easier. It's still effort. And so the example that this pastor gave, he was like, if you got a flat tire or your car stops on the side of the road, you're kicking and screaming and you're all mad because, your car stopped and you're stranded. And he was like, but you call the mechanic, right? And the mechanic comes and in 15 minutes your car is up and running. And he was like, what's the difference, right? Is that the mechanic knows the rules of that engine and they know how that engine is supposed to function. You just don't know the rules. So for you, it would be hard to make that car run again. Before the mechanic, it still took effort. He had to show up, get on the car, do all this, but he knows the rules of how that's supposed to work. And I use rules loosely, but he understands the system, right? And so, and he was like, that's any area of life. And so I think about the last two live streams that we did about corporate culture. I think the reason why that resonated is because we were saying, hey, here's how this system works. It becomes easier. You still have to put it forth effort. You still have to work the system. But if you don't know the system and how it operates or how it's supposed to operate, then that thing can be a nightmare and you can have a horrible experience. And so I think that's any area in life. So anyway.
No, and I completely agree with you. And those of you who are single, I would say this because I do have to realize, because I came across someone that was having problems with relationships and stuff like that. And, we were talking it out. And as I was talking to her, I realized that she didn't have not only experience in marriage or healthy marriage, she was married at the time, but also she didn't have any experience with having healthy relationships, period.
Mm,
And some people fall in that category. And it's sort of like the fundamentals when it comes to relationships. Walking into marriage is having that sort of fundamental skills and tools of how to have a healthy relationship, even though it's platonic. There's some people who don't have healthy relationships with their parents. They don't have
mm,
healthy relationships with their siblings. They don't have healthy relationships with. They don't have any friends, close
mm,
friends, and or if they do, they are like acquaintances, or it's very surface level. And so, if you happen to fall in that category, first therapy, but also practicing those skills within your friendships. If there's something that is said to you that you just didn't appreciate or that kind of hurt your feelings, have a vulnerable moment. Practice having vulnerable moments. Practice moving past that and forgiving. Practice things that muscles that you completely exercise over and over and over again. Um, in marriage, practice doing those things beforehand, which is part of the reason why, as we had a live on friendships, and I did do a video on the jealous friend, how I feel differently about it now. Because one thing that didn't serve me was this idea of cutting people off, because that muscle of working through and forgiving, um, it wasn't a strong muscle for me. I did have healthy relationships, but we had gotten to a point where we know each other so well, where we know what buttons not to cross, we know what things not to do. We know, so it runs like clockwork smoothly. um, and that muscle, it just it created some friction for me. So even while now being single, exercise that muscle of not letting things slide. Don't be passive on certain things. Be vulnerable in the moment, not aggressive, but vulnerable in the moment, and working on that muscle to, hey, let's move past this and love on each other. Um, in your relationships, it'll really help you. SA says, "Don't forget her." I didn't forget you, girl. We're gonna go back to you in a minute. I just want to
All the way up to Miss K.
yeah,
No, Lisa.
yeah.
Lisa.
Lisa says, Teofi, so true. When I allowed myself uh, to like what I like and be who I am, it affected the way I date. Yes, the type of man I attracted, how I am treated. Yes, girl, it does. And that stuff. Can we just talk about this for a minute? Actually, we're gonna get to you. I promise.
I promise.
But if you guys are a part of my YouTube channel, if you guys are following or part of my designer life group, then you guys are familiar with the fact that we're reading The Audacity to Be Queen by Jean Vivi. And she talks about this idea of things being attracted to you, or that will come to you, right? And not to get into too much magic and fairy dust, but I do believe there's some sort of substance to these things. The things that you focus on and the things that you open yourself up to will easily become your reality. And just how we were speaking earlier about that can't mentality, definitely if you have a can't, what you if you focus on what you can't, you will never realize the things that you actually can. It's just how things go. But the moment you open your mind up to it, then you're researching and you're like, oh, I can. Oh, I can. Oh, I can. And then it becomes your reality. And so the moment you change your mind into focusing on what you like and who you are, you will attract what you like and who you are and what you want. Like, it is what it is. It doesn't mean that some foolishness won't come your way every once in a while, but you are easily able to walk away because you know who you are and what you want. Mm-hmm.
Inject this because, like, because you said something, I was like, oh, I don't want her to run past that. I think it's important for us to kind of tune into what Patricia said when you focus on what you want, because sometimes people get that confused about focusing on what they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, the brain don't know the difference. Mm-hmm. So if you focus on what you don't want, I don't want a man who this, I don't want a man who that, that is exactly what you will attract.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And so a lot of people can tell you, whether it's with relationships or this or that, they can tell you what you don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't have time for this. I ain't going to do this. But if you ask them, but tell me what you do want.
Mm-hmm. I can't tell you.
Yeah. Well, I know I don't want. Okay. We know what you don't want. What do you want? So anyway, I just wanted to add, I was like, girl, she's speeding hot fire and she don't even know. I got to pause. I normally don't like to interrupt, but I was like, but don't run past that thought.
I hear you. Yes, the brain does not know the difference. So focus on what you want. So good for you, Lisa. Miss K says, Evelyn, this is a word. I think high maintenance could seem weird to others because a lot of us have not been taught that. We can set our own standards, especially in a world that caters mostly to men. Hold on, let me read again. I think high maintenance could seem weird to others because of a lot of us that have been taught to. Okay, so I can see what you mean, because so high maintenance really is a term it's a male term, a man term. That's how they describe women that are too much, that are out of their reach, that require too much of them, right? So I do get that, in that this sort of high maintenance world is catered to the capacity of the man. Um, so I do understand what you're saying there. But high maintenance shouldn't be considered weird to others. People will say what they were going to say. They're going to say, "Oh, you're doing too much," or "Oh, you bougie," or "Oh, I wouldn't spend on that. I wouldn't spend such and such amount of money on that." Well, that's good. That's cool. You don't have to do what works for you, girl. But this works for me.
Is it working for you though?
Right. And that's the thing. So SJ says she asked. I mean, she asked two questions. I feel like. Did I miss it? Did I miss it?
Yeah, is it inevitable that people fall into the trap of being of marriage being bliss?
No, but before then, she says, "How do you deal with yearning for something you're not ready for in the ready for slash in the position yet? Dream job, getting married, kids. How do you deal with yearning for something you're not ready for?"
Now you know that my trigger word is in there, so you got to
Go
decide if you
ahead,
want
go
to.
ahead. Discuss the trigger word. Go ahead. Talk about ready.
So here's the thing, SJ, I love you. Okay, you already know when I preface it with "I love you," you my answer. Again, I have to look at the words that you use because that's all that I have, right? I struggle with. I don't want to say I struggle. I'm not a fan of this idea of ready because again I feel like ready is like a moving target. Okay. I think ready is a mental choice. So for example, if I use the examples that you gave, dream job, what do you how would you be ready for a dream job? Now there's a difference between being prepared, but ready, like, oh, give me the words. Let's start with dream job, right? So if so I believe that a lot of times we have an assignment to do on earth. I know I'm going super ocean floor here, but feel me. If I've got work that needs to be done, why would I'm, I hope you can hear. I'm struggling to find the words here. Why would that be delayed? Right? Like why would I want to get about that sooner than later, right? If so, I guess someone who told us that the good life was in the future, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Why does it always have to be afar off? Why does it always have to be in retirement? Why does it always have to be after a certain age? There are some people who knew what they were meant to do at 4. Like there's videos of the singer Her at like 6 years old playing the piano on a news show, right? That's her dream job. And so was she not ready at 4, at 6 or 8? So I'm not a fan of the word ready. I hope I'm making sense here. Even getting married, I think that's relative. Some people get married in 2021 and they're married for the rest of their life, right? And that number or that age or that stage has changed over history or even changes by culture. And so I think it's a choice. It's a mindset. Now, I think it's okay if you don't want certain things at a certain phase of life. I think that's dependent upon the person, right? And I think that's fair. Um, the the yearning indicates to me that it's probably time, or at least time to get in position. So how do you handle for it? Start to prepare for it, and then when it comes your way, it may be sooner than you think, it may be longer than you think. Then you step into it. Patricia, help me. I'm rambling. Because I'm trying to. I don't know if I'm communicating well what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
That ready is a choice, not a place. Ready is a thought process, not circumstantial. Um, Ready is internal, not physical. And so I started cooking at 6 years old, right? I did my first Thanksgiving dinner for my family when I was 12. Why did I wait till my late 20s to follow that path of my dream job? I right. Why was it I could have came out of college, I could have came out of high school and went to culinary school. Somewhere we have bought into this notion that fulfillment is in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's jobs, kids, like why is it a far off? I don't know. Patricia, help me because I'm rambling at this point.
You know, so I don't like the word ready either, but I heard something slightly different. And
Okay.
maybe it's because I feel you, SJ, what I think you might be saying. Um, I still don't like, and I think you should really use that. Take that word ready out of your vocabulary. But the word that I heard or that I focused more so on was the yearning. How do
Mm,
you deal with that yearning? And I know for me, and SJ, tell me if this resonates with you, is that, I have like these big dreams and these big plans. And sometimes while I'm running on the race, I'll look and see how much further I have to go.
mm,
And in that moment, I'll feel discouraged. I'll have that sense of yearning, like, how come I'm not at the finish line yet? And it's not about that being afar off. It's not about delaying it um, for retirement or further down the road, but it's that it's not here. I think you use you're not ready for. How about something that's not here yet? That's
mm,
not manifested yet.
mhm,
And that yearning, I'll tell you how I manage it, because this is really real for me. This is really real for me. And that really is focusing on those short-term goals. And so if I know I want to get there, I need to celebrate when I get here. And then
mm,
when I make it there. And then next time, and have the vision and have the plan laid out, that understanding that sometimes God does what he wants to do in the midst of it. But having your plan and having it laid out, and then celebrating the little victories, doing what you need to do to put one foot in front of the other to reach that smaller goal, and then celebrate it, and then put one foot in front of the other. And sometimes, every once in a while, you do need a reminder to look all the way down there, but focus on like what's closest to you right now in this moment. And then when you get there, celebrate that. And then you're like, whoo, I'm a little closer. You know what I'm saying? Like, change the mentality, and from thinking, dang, I'm still so far. And instead of celebrating where you are, thinking like, man, I'm one step closer. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? So I don't know if that, I think she wrote something else down here. She said, even if I I am ready, there's a period of waiting. Okay, yes. So that period of waiting, that it's not here yet. It's not manifest. It hasn't manifested in my life yet. That's how I would deal with that, because I really do struggle with that, where I'm just like, dang, like I so know where I want to go, and I'm not there yet. And sometimes I can be discouraged or disappointed in myself, being full aware of the plan, being fully aware that some things take time to evolve and develop, and there's a process. And sometimes I get frustrated with that process. Like, it needs to happen immediately, right now, or I want it to happen right now. But understanding that, every good and perfect thing comes from God, and I have access to Him, and so I have access to everything. And so, but sometimes things do take their time, and I need to be okay with the process that I committed to. So, yeah, and then so later she asked, so SJ asked, is it inevitable that people fall in the trap of marriage being bliss? Um, um, I don't know. Listen, I'm not too sure what the messaging is now, because I really feel like the messaging has shifted, in that people know that it's challenging. So I don't know that if people still believe that things are going to be roses and berries and butterflies. I can tell you what I knew, that like, the marriage was challenging. I grew up in a home that has a successful marriage, right? Not perfect, but successful marriage. And so growing up in that context and seeing a healthy marriage, I understood that marriage is challenging. So I didn't have that sort of bliss idea. Plus, I exposed myself to being as equipped as I could as a single person. So I didn't believe that marriage was bliss. What I can tell you is, I didn't know that, you hit the ground running. You know what I'm saying? There is, because what people told you, oh, there's a honeymoon phase that's going to last. 1 to 4 years. Then you get a little tough hump from like 4 to 7 years. And then after that, once you get through that, you're good. So that's what my research told me. My research did not tell me that you hit the ground running. You know what I'm saying? And so I would say that I wasn't prepared for. So I don't know. I don't do. You get that messaging, Evelyn? That marriage is bliss, or
It's the pendulum swing of one extreme to the other. So I think if you go on to social media, you will hear married couples being like, marriage ain't for the weak, ain't for the lighthearted, it's hard work or whatever. I think you have that narrative. And then I think when you turn on TV and movies, you get, oh my God, we had a small little argument about the remote control and then we got engaged and we were married in a week. So I think there's this like extreme pendulum swing of the narrative, and that I think can be confusing to a single person, right? I mean, like, you know that the movies aren't real, but you watch them, and you know that the TV show and Hallmark is the worst. Like Hallmark Channel is like the worst, okay, for those kind of things. And so I think it's a pendulum swing, and I think one of the things that I had to ask God for was to bring me married friends to give me a balanced, accurate view that I did not want to think that I was going to be spending my days running through a meadow, holding hands, singing kumbaya, but I also didn't want to think that there was this super horrible, terrible thing, because then it was like, well, why are y'all in it? You know what I mean? And so, um, wanting to surround myself with people in various phases of marriage who are having a healthy relationship, not perfect, healthy, and getting a more balanced view has helped me. But I do think the narrative, I think the pendulum swings to extremes. That is horrible, and everybody's having entanglements, and people are cheating, and nobody's doing their own work, and whatever. I think there's that narrative. And then I think there's the narrative that no, we're just happy, and year one we got a dog, and year two we had a kid, and year three, like So, and I think there's a lot in between. And actually, Rushni talked about this after the Red Table Talk. She put up a post that said, there is a space between. There is a lot of people living in the space between on the verge of getting a divorce and living in bliss, right? And that's where a lot of people live in their marriage. That's probably where most people live, and that on any given day you can ride up and down the spectrum. And I even heard Bishop T.D. Jakes say this about him and his wife, and they've been married a really, really long time. He was like, some days you just married.
mm-hmm.
He was like, anybody that tells you like that, they were happily married every single day is lying to you. But at the same time, anybody that tells you that they're having this horrible, like, I think there's room for there's a gray there, and that's probably where most people live, and that's what I've heard. I can tell you from experience. I always like to clarify that, but that's what I've heard.
Yes. There was a question. Someone asked, I can't find it now. Someone was asking about the book that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's The Audacity. Hey, BB asked, The Audacity to Be Queen by Gina DeVee. Get you one. Get you one. Chauncey Shashay says, I think this applies at work too. Stop making things work because, ooh, the pay is good, the benefits are good, etc. Don't be passive when you feel disrespected. Leaving my corporate job in 2 weeks. I will say congratulations, especially under those terms. Yes, pay, like we mentioned earlier, pay is not everything. The benefits are not everything. Know who you are, the lifestyle that you want to have. And so that includes pay. Like, no one's saying ignore
Right,
what
it's
the bottom
up.
line is. Yes. But there are certain things you shouldn't sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Feminist Sex says that was my thing. Wanted to prove to my parents that I could do it my way and thrive. Yes, girl. I had to, whoo, hang that up. 20 something says yes. Chauncey. Sometimes we just have to jump in and let go of fear, which is so true. Um, let's go down here.
Well, can I respond to SJ's comment right here? She says, even if I feel I am ready, there is a period of waiting for God's timing. I just want to put a pin right here. I want to say that I agree with your statement. I would like to add to that that sometimes that phrase God's timing has been synonymous with waiting, and sometimes God's timing is suddenly, immediately, right now. And we don't hear a lot of talk about that. So somewhere we have picked up the belief that I'm waiting on God every time something is delayed, or every time, and here's the thing, sometimes that is true. Sometimes God is like, not right now, right? But we don't hear as much commentary narrative about when God is like, no, right now, today, suddenly. And so there's so many times in the Bible where God is like, and it's like, and suddenly, and he's like, do this tomorrow, get up in the morning and do this, leave here today, like, right there, there's a lot of, no, make a move today. And I think that's what I was trying to reference when I said earlier, like this notion that it's in the future. If God has given us stuff to do on earth, don't you think he wants us to get about it? You know what I'm saying? Um, and so I think that's what I'm saying. Like, and I definitely think you were talking about the yearning, but it's like I had to learn to question myself that sometimes I have used, and I am not accusing anybody of this phrase, but I'm going to speak for myself. I have unconsciously used "I'm waiting on God" as a form of procrastination.
Mm.
I have used that phrase, I'm just waiting on God, to avoid doing the work. Sometimes I have used that phrase, I'm just waiting on the Lord, okay, because I was fearful, or because, like somebody said, not having the full blueprint. So, um, just you sometimes you might just want to check in. And so sometimes the God will tell you to wait. And usually though, I will say this, if I have a yearning for something and God has told me to wait, if God is really telling me to wait, the more I have gotten older, I will get a peace about it. If I'm using God's timing as an excuse and I don't know it, I will be restless about it. So just a little another viewpoint on that, but that's why I don't want to scroll past that.
I hear, and check me if I'm like, I'm trying to scroll through, addressing as much as I can. But Camille says, "Amen. You hit the ground running." 20 something says, "Can you elaborate on hitting the ground running?" And what I mean by that, you know what? Life happens, and life doesn't wait for your honeymoon phase to be over.
The work starts day one.
The work starts day one. And that's what I mean by hit the ground running. Especially, I will say this, when you're dealing with two people who, listen, y'all, I didn't get married in my teens. I didn't get married in my 20s. Um, and so, and obviously, by the way I speak and what I do, I've done a lot of work on myself. And so I have not walked into the situation trying to be anybody else but me. And sometimes when you walk into a situation like that, those first few years, part of that honeymoon phase is people are faking the funk still. You know what I'm saying? And one thing my relationship has always been is real,
Mm-hmm.
even in the dating phase. And so once you get into marriage, and there's so much at stake, um, because my husband and I didn't do the like marriage thing before marriage. When we got married, we got married. So then did our finances become one, and then did all these other things become one, and then did our extended plans become one. And so life also hit us. And so we got two people who are being honest with each other, and life is happening, and it's happening quickly. You know what I mean? And I've shared this on my channel before. Like, literally, we came back from the honeymoon that week, that following Monday, not even a week, I was having surgery from being back from the honeymoon, and that was step one. Okay, and now we don't have time to talk about what has happened since then. Life has happened, and so quickly you're dealing with, and what people don't understand. I the other day I watched, and I know I'm so late on this, that Facebook series, or maybe it's a show. That just shows how much I know about it. Black Love. And there was a whole segment. I don't remember what season it was. I think it was season 2. So I know that's very old. But it came up as an ad on my on when I was on Facebook, and I was really intrigued on it. It was a whole episode about hardship and how it affects relationship. And most of the people that were on there were, one of the people had cancer, somebody had a brain tumor, somebody got diagnosed with MS, somebody, like, all these different things that happen in a relationship that make things real really quickly, and it really just snaps both people, and just it really changes the energy of a relationship. And so when I say hit the ground running, it's like life don't work. That life don't wait for anybody, and life didn't wait for us. And we listen. Our honeymoon phase lasted like literally 2 minutes because life hit us and just continued even after that first moment. And so that's what I really mean by hit the ground running, especially to my point earlier about two people who are honest with themselves and honest with each other. There's gonna be a working through. There's gonna be that challenging aspect of getting to know each other, how they communicate. It's like, okay, did you mean that, or is it you just said that, or did you this, or did you really mean it this way, or did you mean, just working through that and trying to understand each other and being vulnerable to that process. Like, it got real. It got real quick. Um,
And Patricia, we've talked about this, that I think I was telling you that a lot of my friends that are under 5 years married have had some kind of something early in their marriage, right? Variety of things, parents passing, job loss, a myriad of things. And we asked ourselves the question, like, well, were they believers? And I was thinking about this the other day, right? Because the more stories I hear about people, at least who are faith based in their marriage, something happened in under 24 months, right? In all of those cases. And I don't know why I was reading, like, it's like, you got to leave and cleave, right? And so this is so random. And I am not a medical professional, but for whatever reason, the other day, the idea of a skin graft came to my mind, right? And I said, I don't know if I believe, because again, I'm not married. I don't know if I believe that God necessarily is like, let me send hardship your way. But it's almost like that cutting those painful things fuses the couple together in a way so quickly that it's like, y'all set now. Y'all are one now, because of the things that occurred different in every relationship. Is like, y'all won now, let's ride. You know what I mean? And I said, it's interesting. I just saw that in lots of what people would like to call godly marriages, like people who faith is the cornerstone of their marriage, of their union. And I was just like, listen, I'm a little nervous, you know what I mean? Because it was like unanimous, but all of the couples have said, yeah, but it's different. Yes, that was painful, or those things plural were painful, were so different on the other side, in a good way, right? Bruised, but like, they know they know they in it to win it.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
I don't know why skin graft, came to mind, but it was like, use this together.
it's true. It does. I will say it has the potential to, if you let it.
Yes.
If you let it, it really will, because there's definitely, it'll reveal um, what you have, definitely, for sure. And I know in my experience where it was like, again, we're a week in. I'm, trying to preserve my sexy. We just came off the honeymoon, right? And a week later, my husband's cleaning me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that don't get real, more real than that, I was about a week in. Like, if that ain't love, I don't know what is, y'all. Caribbean Curl says, "What's one quality people commend you on?" What is one quality people commend you on? The first thing that comes to mind, I'll just share the first thing that comes to mind, is my ability to stay calm in situations that I shouldn't be calm in. I will say, um, people have described me as people describe me as emotionally mature. And the thing about it is, I just don't let things or people or situations rattle me. I think part of that is hereditary from my dad, who doesn't seem to get rattled about anything. But also, it's part of my work, um, of not letting people or even my own emotions get the best of me, which that's still an active work for me. Um, but also my career in being a nurse. You know, when someone is crashing and you just don't feel a pulse anymore, there is no time to freak out for 10 minutes about the fact that you don't feel a pulse anymore. Like, you just have to be able to get in there and work. And I've had my coworkers tell me, like, nothing rattles Patricia, whether it was a good comment or bad comment. Nothing rattles Patricia. Like, she don't. And so that's one thing that people commend me on, is that I'm able to sort of stay calm, make a sound decision, even in tough situations.
Mhm.
How about you, Evelyn?
Let's see, one thing that people commend me on. Probably my ability to play the movie. And what I mean by that is I can look at a situation, a circumstance, a happenstance, and play the movie pretty far out, quickly, with limited information, and then take that picture that I see and use that information to make decisions in the present day, or to advise in the present day, or to make adjustments, or to adapt. Um, I don't know what you would call that, but and it's interesting because the more I rely on it, the stronger it gets. Like, the more I trust it, the stronger it gets. And it used to kind of freak me out. I'd be like, I see that coming, good or bad. And so I don't want it to come across like it's a negative thing. For a long time, it felt like a negative thing. I felt like I was like the bearer of bad news. Like, let me tell you, this ain't gonna go the way you wanted to go. Like, but positive and not so positively. Um, but yeah, being able to play the movie and be fairly accurate. My batting percentage is pretty high on playing the movie. So and so I think it has served people well. Yep.
Awesome. Chauncey says, "Thank you. I'm 26 and have no kids. I'm not trying to sacrifice all these years to a job where I'm not happy." And you shouldn't have to.
Right.
You shouldn't have to. She says again later on, trusting God means trusting yourself to make decisions and be okay. God will redirect you or sit you down if you need something. If you are in something that's not for you.
I agree.
Caribbean Curl says, "I'm looking forward to your Ask a Married Woman." Yes, if you guys did not know, I am hosting an Ask a Married Woman discussion, and y'all, the questions so far have been, y'all asking some good questions. And so, if you still want to submit a question, it is a panel of us unmarried people, divorced people, currently married for a few years, up to 10 years. If you have questions, now would be the time about dating, life, love, marriage, even motherhood. We haven't had no questions about motherhood, but we do have a few mothers on the panel, two mothers on the panel. So if you have questions about that, go ahead and let me know via Instagram. DM me on Instagram, and then I'll add your question onto the list. All the questions have to be asked beforehand. So if you want your question to be included, then DM me on Instagram. And so Evelyn will be on the panel. So if you like this live, you like the energy of this live, then you definitely want to tune in then and submit your question. Um, let's see. Ladies, you answered this question too. So yeah, everyone answered the question. What do people commend you on? Let's see. SJ says, "How do you, how do you be so calm, Patricia?" Like I said, it's a mixture of what has been given to me. I've seen, literally. I'm like, Dad, the house is on fire, and he's like, well, I better let's see what we can get and walk out. Like he's just not, not gonna be. All of his brothers are the same way. All of the seven of them, all of them except for one of them is like that. Like it's just
That's just
the
how they are.
nature. They just come. So that's part of it. I think part of it is my career too supports that. Um, in that, but you know what? I've met nurses that are not like that. But it definitely helps to support that quality that I have, especially the type of nursing that I landed in, which was critical care. And so those situations really need someone who's able to stay calm and make decisions and come. And also the work that I've done um, on myself and just understanding how life works. And that in this moment, um, it's going to be this way, but in another second, this second will be a memory and helping me to stay sort of grounded in that. And there was a book that I read that really helped me by Eric Tolle, and it's called The Power of Now. And sometimes I found myself getting stressed out. Remember, I told you guys about the future, constantly looking down, looking forward. And in the past, I've also had the complex of looking back and feeling a type of way about my past, but really helping to focus on the now and what I can do right now that'll get me closer to that and further away from that. The more I was able to be less anxious and less reactive. Another thing on that, to talk about reactive, a lot of us struggle in that area. When I understood that, like, what people do have nothing to do with me, I'm not someone that reacts anyway, but when I did, it has nothing to do with me. It literally has nothing to do with me. And when I set my boundaries, it's never in a reactive way. It's always like, just to let you know, um, this right here that happened today, I will no longer tolerate it. That's the end of it. No
Yeah.
hooting, hollering. I don't gotta go back and forth. I'm just not gonna do it. You're not gonna get me to go out. Anytime actually that someone tries to pull me out of it and I allow them even a little bit, I'm upset with myself, not the other person. Because yes, the foolery has to do with them, but how I choose to react, that says more about me. And so that's how I'm able to do that. Chauncey Shashay says, random question. We're gonna have to wrap it up soon, y'all, because we knocking on 2 hours. Says, what's y'all zodiac sign? And then she says, yes, ma'am, life is ever changing. Yes, life hits you fast and it's always changing. So my zodiac sign is Pisces, but I guess I feel like some of y'all could guess that about me.
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn. That's probably not a shocker.
Let me tell you something about zodiac signs in general, and I gotta be careful here. But here's the thing: while I don't subscribe to all of the inner workings of astrology, I do find it interesting that people who are born around the same time have similar traits.
Hmm.
And being that we have a God that's so systematic and everything that he does is perfect, I don't think that's by accident.
Right.
So I tend to understand people who are born around the same time as me. And like people will say, like, oh, how are you able to work with your sister and live with your sister? I used to get questions like that all the time. My
Mhm.
sister is a Taurus, which is like a perfect match for a Pisces. And so it's not by accident. Like, yes, we have a good relationship. Yes, we worked on our relationship. Yes, we love each other and all that, and we're sisters. But you know what I mean?
Right.
So Camille says, I've always been commended on my maturity from childhood. I've always been able to look at situations and respond from a place of wisdom. which is more characteristic of an older person. Camille, I just resonate with that so much. I was born like 40. Like from since I was a kid, and good and bad, like literally the weight of the world. Like there were things that I considered. I was talking about this the other day with my husband, how my parents used to ask me like, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" And in my mind, I was already thinking, I know that, my mom just had to go to school full time. Now she's only going to school part time. So for me to ask for something right now, that would be inconsiderate because I know that they'd be stretching out of their budget. I don't want anything. And I was already thinking like that far ahead, and as a kid, and where most kids are being selfish and they're just like, oh, I want that baby doll, or oh, I want this Barbie, or oh, I want this or that. I just was deep as a kid. Deep. Camille also says, and like Patricia, I believe a background in nursing does help you develop a certain level of calm. Yes, Camille's a Capricorn too.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so good.
Yes.
Listen.
Definitely, for sure, guys. This has been definitely a good discussion. It's so funny. As soon as we wrap up some of these conversations, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite, or this one I really enjoyed, or this one, and it's just everyone that comes, I start to feel that way.
I do. And, like, we never know, like I'm gonna give y'all a little transparent secret. I'm pretty sure Patricia is gonna be like, don't tell them that. Like we don't be knowing all the time what we're gonna talk about. Like sometimes it'll be like 30 seconds before we hit go live. But I hope that y'all enjoy it. I mean, sometimes we pre-plan, but sometimes it's just like, girl, it's gonna come. But I think this one was a good one. I would encourage you ladies to watch the replay. I gotta go save my throat because I have a coaching call. But this has been good. This has been very
good. Thank you, and shout out to all you guys who are watching live, and all you guys who are watching on the replay. Remember, Ask a Married Woman. If you want to be a part of that discussion, you want your question to be a part of that discussion, hit me up via Instagram. That is God's Design, the same way it's spelled here on Instagram. And if you're not following Evelyn already, I'd like you to. I think you should. She's got really good content over there. So follow her there on Evelyn Inc. on Instagram and on here on YouTube, and check out her videos. If you are subscribed to my channel, then tomorrow a singles club video goes live at noon. And it's called Men Will Waste Your Time If You Let Them. So,
I can't wait to watch it.
Let's. So tune in tomorrow then. It's gonna be a good.
Well, it's funny that you're dropping that video because I got a video dropping on Thursday about how I started my femininity journey, and I say some interesting things about men in that video. So this is y'all about to have a content-rich rig up in here. Like, get you some popcorn, San Pellegrino, feel what I'm saying, or whatever beverage of choice. Get you your cozy socks, and make sure you tune in because I'm gonna be tuning in. Patricia like tomorrow, and then right behind that, we're gonna have some interesting things. Listen, we might need to do a follow-up to these.
Yeah. Right. But yes, ladies, thank you so much. Thank you to you guys. Those of you guys for saying thank you. Thank you to you guys for showing up and participating. It wouldn't be nothing without y'all. You know what I'm saying? It would just be us two having our own conversations by ourselves, which is cool too. But we're glad to have you and to share the love and the wisdom and just having the open forum and discussion. So, yeah, guys, this time next week here, 4 p.m.-ish, your girls will be back here for another live tomorrow at noon on my channel, and then Thursday on Evelyn's channel for the new content. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon.